Nepal is a land of extremes, stretching from lowland plains to the highest point on Earth. It is the birthplace of the Buddha and the only country where a young girl is worshipped as a living goddess. To most of the world, Nepal means Everest. But the mountain's fame has overshadowed an even more fascinating life. It is where you could experience heaven without dying or step into the future without a time machine. Take your eyes off the summit. The greater mystery is not how people reach the top, but how millions live far below it. And that is where our journey begins. Long before Nepal became known as the home of Everest, it was sacred ground, where faith shaped nearly every part of daily life. In Nepal, Hinduism and Buddhism are the religions most commonly practiced. Religion plays an essential role in people's daily lives. Nepal is the birthplace of the Buddha, but Buddhism is not the country's majority religion. With over 81% practicing Hinduism, these people worship more than 1,000 gods, celebrate multiple festivals, and visit temples for rituals. Similarly, Buddhism, with 9% of the total population of Nepal, follows Lord Buddha and is mainly practiced in the Himalayan region. Also, it is very common here in Nepal to find Hindu and Buddhist temples side by side. That same coexistence appears in one of Nepal's most visible national symbols, its flag. Nepal has the only national flag in the world that is not four-sided. Instead of a rectangle, it uses two crimson triangles stacked one above the other. They are commonly interpreted as symbols of the Himalayas and of the country's two major religions, Hinduism and Buddhism. In a single flag, Nepal brings together its mountains, its faiths, and its hope for survival. Religion in Nepal is not confined to prayers or sacred texts. It is built into the landscape. At Buddhanath Stupa, Buddhist belief takes the form of a massive white dome rising above the capital, Kathmandu. Its circular base and layered structure reflect the traditions of Tibetan Vajrayana Buddhism. Above the dome, 4 pairs of Buddha's eyes face the 4 directions, suggesting that wisdom sees beyond every boundary. Between them, a smaller symbol is often described as the third eye, representing spiritual insight and enlightenment. From the golden top of the stupa, hundreds of prayer flags stretch down toward the lower levels like a waterfall of color. Known as lungta or windhorse flags, they are printed with mantras and prayers. Their 5 traditional colors represent the basic elements: blue for sky and space, white for air, red for fire, green for water, and yellow for earth. As the flags move, Tibetan Buddhists believe the wind carries their prayers and wishes for peace and compassion into the surrounding world. Buddhanath Stupa in Nepal is one of the largest stupas in the world and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. If Buddhanath watches over Kathmandu through the eyes of the Buddha, Pashupatinath turns an entire riverbank into one of Hinduism's most sacred landscapes. Its main temple rises from a square platform beneath a 2-tiered golden roof. Carved wooden beams, silver-covered doors, and hundreds of smaller shrines surround it. But this is not simply an ancient monument preserved for tourists. Pashupatinath remains a living religious center. Every day, Hindu devotees enter Pashupatinath carrying flowers, incense, and offerings for Shiva. Priests chant prayers inside the temple, while elderly pilgrims come seeking blessings and, for some, spiritual preparation for the end of life. Within the Pashupatinath complex, stone cremation platforms descend toward the sacred Bagmati. Here, families wash and wrap their loved ones, build wooden funeral pyres, and light the flames in full view of the river. Hindus believe that fire releases the soul from its physical body. Cremation at this sacred place is also believed to cleanse the deceased of earthly sins and help the soul escape the cycle of rebirth. When the ashes are placed in the Bagmati, the current carries them beyond the temple, symbolizing the soul's journey toward moksha, or a more favorable next life. This search for spiritual liberation is fundamental to both Hinduism and Buddhism. In fact, Hinduism and Buddhism don't just run side by side here. They merge seamlessly, embodied in the world's only living goddess, the Kumari. Chosen from the Buddhist Shakya community, she is worshipped by both Buddhists and Hindus as the living embodiment of Taleju, a Hindu goddess and former guardian of Nepal's royal families. Dressed in red, with a symbolic third eye painted on her forehead, she lives in dedicated palaces or temples, the most famous being the Kumari Gar. Devotees bow at her feet, offer flowers, and wait for a glance believed to bring good fortune. In fact, she can walk inside her residence, but during public ceremonies, she is carried so her sacred feet never touch the ground. Today, she receives private lessons and maintains contact with her family. When puberty begins, her divine role ends, and she returns to school and ordinary life. Nepal is a country where diversity reveals itself at every turn. It lives in the faces of its people, the languages they speak, the landscapes they call home, and the traditions they have carried across centuries. More than 120 ethnic communities live within its borders. Sherpa, Gurung, Nuar, Tamang, Rai, Tharu, and many others have preserved their own customs, festivals, clothing, music, and ways of life. Together, they speak more than 120 languages and dialects, making Nepal one of the most culturally diverse nations in Asia. That diversity comes alive through its festivals. Almost every season brings a different celebration, transforming streets, villages, and mountain towns into entirely new worlds. Some festivals fill the air with prayer, others with music, firelight, or clouds of brilliant color. Each belongs to a different tradition, yet together they tell the story of a country where culture is woven into everyday life. The largest of them all is Dashain. For 15 days, millions of families return home from every corner of the country. Temples echo with the sound of bells and prayers offered to the goddess Durga, celebrating the triumph of good over evil. Elders place red tika on the foreheads of younger family members, blessing them with prosperity and long life. Across Nepal, homes are filled with shared meals, stories, and generations gathered beneath the same roof, turning the nation's biggest festival into its greatest family reunion. When the prayers of Dashain come to an end, devotion does not disappear. It simply takes another form. As autumn nights grow longer, Nepal begins to shimmer with the warm glow of Thihar, one of the country's two greatest festivals. Often described as the Hindu world's answer to Christmas, it is a season when homes are cleaned from top to bottom. Families gather once again. And every doorway comes alive with flickering oil lamps, candles, and intricate rangoli patterns blooming across the ground like works of art. Thihar celebrates far more than light. Across 5 days, gratitude is extended to the companions that share everyday life. Loyal dogs are welcomed with flower garlands draped around their necks and bright red tika pressed gently onto their foreheads. Sacred cows, symbols of prosperity and generosity, are honored with prayers and offerings. Even crows, long regarded as messengers in Hindu tradition, are fed as a gesture of respect. Few festivals in the world devote entire days to recognizing the bond between humans, animals, and the natural world. By nightfall, neighborhoods glow beneath thousands of tiny flames. Music drifts through the streets as friends and relatives visit one another, exchanging blessings and celebrating together. It is a festival of light, but also of gratitude, reminding people that prosperity is measured not only by wealth, but by the relationships that sustain life itself. But Nepal's traditions are not expressed only through prayer and devotion. They also find their voice in moments of pure joy and celebration, a spirit that comes alive during Holi. The celebration begins with the Holika Dahan bonfire, where towering flames symbolize the end of darkness and the arrival of spring. By morning, the streets erupt into a whirlwind of color. Clouds of crimson, yellow, blue, and green burst into the air as strangers, friends, and families throw powdered pigments and splash water without regard for age, status, or social class. Laughter replaces formality, and for a single day, the country seems united beneath the same brilliant colors. The diversity seen in Nepal's languages, landscapes, and festivals also appears in its cuisine, where every region adds its own ingredients, flavors, and stories to the nation's table. Across the country, food changes with the terrain. In the high Himalayas, where winters are harsh and resources are limited, meals are shaped by Tibetan influences and the need for warmth and energy. In the fertile valleys and southern plains, rice, vegetables, spices, and fresh ingredients create a completely different culinary landscape. Yet one dish connects people across Nepal. Dal bhat, a simple combination of lentils, rice, vegetable curry, pickles, and chutneys, is the heart of everyday life. For Nepalis, it is what pasta is to Italians, tacos to Mexicans, and hamburgers to Americans. So it is often considered Nepal's national dish. Served in homes from mountain villages to busy cities, it is more than a meal. It represents hospitality, family, and the tradition of welcoming others to the table. Another dish that has become a symbol of Nepal is momo. These small dumplings, filled with meat or vegetables and served with a spicy dipping sauce, reveal the influence of Tibetan cuisine while becoming uniquely Nepali over generations. Today, momo can be found everywhere, from roadside stalls to family gatherings. But Nepal's cuisine does not end with these familiar dishes. Beyond dal bhat and momo lies a much wider world of flavors, shaped by local ingredients, regional traditions, and the communities that have preserved them for generations. Sel roti, a golden ring-shaped rice bread, appears during festivals and celebrations. Gundruk, made from fermented leafy vegetables, preserves the flavors of the mountain regions. Chada mari, sometimes called Nepali pizza, reflects the creativity of Newar communities through a thin rice flour base covered with different toppings. For Nepalese people, food is not simply something to eat. It is a way of showing respect, building relationships, and bringing people together. This connection can be seen every day in Nepal's traditional markets. As the morning begins, narrow streets come alive with movement. Wooden stalls overflow with fresh vegetables, grains, spices, and locally grown produce brought from nearby farms and villages. Much of what is sold here comes directly from the land, reflecting a close connection between Nepalese communities and the food they grow. Street vendors push carts through crowded lanes, calling out to customers while displaying fruits, snacks, and everyday goods. To visitors accustomed to more organized shopping spaces, these scenes may appear chaotic at first, but behind it is a simple reality: people working hard to support their families. Many stalls are operated by men who spend their days weighing produce, arranging goods, and building relationships with regular customers. These are not just places of commerce, but familiar gathering points where neighbors meet and daily life unfolds. Life is not easy for everyone in Nepal, and the small profit from each transaction can make a meaningful difference. For expats, sometimes choosing not to bargain too aggressively is not just about paying a fair price, but about recognizing the person behind the stall and the effort behind every product. Beyond the markets and chaotic street vendors, the rhythm of life in Nepal generally feels gentle, peaceful, and untouched by the rush of the modern world. And yet, in a fascinating contrast, this slow-paced nation is already living in the year 2082. Not because the country is living in the future, but because Nepal follows its own sense of time. The Bikram Sambat calendar used here runs nearly 57 years ahead of the Gregorian calendar. Perhaps that is what makes Nepal so fascinating. It is a country where ancient traditions and modern life exist together, where time seems to move at a different rhythm. While many destinations around the world have become crowded and overwhelmed by tourism, Nepal still preserves a rare sense of authenticity. Here, quiet mountain trails lead through remote villages beneath towering peaks. A sunrise above the Himalayas, surrounded by silence and endless landscapes, offers an experience that feels almost impossible to find elsewhere. The true beauty of Nepal is often hidden along these paths, where travelers can witness simple village life, peaceful lakes, and natural hot springs far from the noise of modern cities. Yet Nepal's greatest treasure is not only its landscapes. Despite its incredible diversity, this country has remained united by a strong sense of identity. Throughout history, Nepal was never fully colonized, and the courage of the legendary Gurkha warriors became a symbol of national pride. Today, many Gurkhas continue to serve in the British Army and other countries around the world. Similarly, many Nepalese people leave their homeland to seek opportunities abroad, especially in Australia, Britain, and other Western nations. That is because Nepal still faces economic challenges, and limited opportunities have pushed many young people to look for a better future elsewhere. Despite the challenges they face, Nepalese people continue to embrace life with genuine smiles and lasting happiness. They may not have great material wealth, but they possess a deep richness of spirit. They face difficulties with resilience, welcome others with warmth, and find joy in the simple moments of life. Everest may be Nepal's greatest symbol, but its true story lives beyond the mountain's shadow. It can be found in its traditions, its landscapes, and in the warmth of the people who call this extraordinary land home. What part of Nepal surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments.